This is FYI on your TV, brought to you by Hometown News. I'm Kathy Botham. I've got my co-host Robbie Hull back with me. Welcome back, Rob.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here too. I'm glad you're here too. I'm going to throw the show over to you with your special guest today.
Today's guest is Chief Mark MacGillivray. Thank you for joining us today, Chief.
Thanks very much for having me, Robbie. It's a pleasure.
We asked you here today because we heard you are retiring.
There is a rumor going around that I am going to be done at the end of this year.
When did you join the police service?
Well, I just came up to my 36-year anniversary, November 9th, 1987 is when I started here in Smith Falls.
Where did you start your career?
I've done my entire 36 years right here in Smith Falls. I came out of college and put my applications around, and at that time it was Chief Bill Stalker and Inspector Don Blair that were in charge of the service, and they hired me on back in 1987. I was just a 20-year-old young man.
How many police chiefs did you work under?
Well, I worked under Chief Stalker, was the first chief that I worked for. And then after Chief Stalker, I worked for Chief Larry Hardy. And then just before I got promoted to chief, I worked for Chief Bob Dowdle.
When did you become a chief?
I became the chief. It was in the fall of 2016, so just about 7 years ago that I was chief, and I was the deputy chief before that.
What occurred you to become a police officer?
Well, I guess it probably started because my dad was a police officer in Ottawa, and I grew up in Ottawa. And I guess as a young boy, I watched my dad, and he worked in the neighborhood that we lived in. And so I would watch him when he'd come home with all his police gear on and his stories of work. And I guess when I was very young, I decided that that's what I want to do for a living.
Do you have any other family members in the law enforcement?
Well, I do. I think other than my dad, but I think you know my sister, or my daughter, sorry, my daughter Brittany. You know Brittany.
And we share a birthday.
And you share the same birthday, that's right. October 17th is your shared birthday. And so she's with the Cornwall Police Service. She's been with Cornwall for, I guess, about 5 years now. Time flies.
What are some of your proudest moments during your career?
Well, you know, over 36 years, you have an awful pile of proud moments. But I think just having the opportunity to lead such a great police service is probably my proudest. But I certainly had a very good time when I worked in our Criminal Investigations Bureau. I worked with, and you know, Tom Blanchard, Detective Tom Blanchard, who retired as our staff sergeant, and I worked with him as a partner in the crime unit for a number of years, and I really enjoyed that part of my career as well. I had a lot of good moments, some cases that we were able to solve together, and so it was a real highlight of my career.
What plans do you have in your retirement?
Well, I know that I'm going to take a little bit of time to just relax. I'm going to try and maybe play a little bit more golf. I'm sure I'm going to have a list of things to do around the house that I'm going to have to get caught up on. And maybe some hunting, some fishing. and I'm just gonna maybe try and enjoy a little bit of time with family.
Personally, I hope you stay with Special Olympics because you are a very big part of it in Smith Falls.
Well, you know, you don't retire from Special Olympics. It's a lifelong venture. So I certainly will not be leaving Special Olympics. I'll always be there.
Thank you, Chief MacGillivray, for joining us today. And I want to wish you a very retirement.
Well, thank you very much, Robbie. I really appreciate having you having me on the show today as your special guest. It's been a long time since we were on this show together, and I'm glad that my last interview will be with you.
I think his first interview was with you,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
He brought you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did have an interview, and I think it was to do with Special Olympics and maybe some of the things that were going on with the Smith Falls Police, and so it's fitting to end my career with an interview with Robbie as well.
All right. I've got a few questions I'd like to ask
Sure.
too. And when you said your daughter's a police officer as well too. You must see a lot of changes from when the training you took originally to what she's doing now.
Yeah, it's things have changed a lot in going on 4 decades. So certainly training changes. The equipment that we wear has evolved over the years. The types of calls for service and the complexity of investigations has changed so much over the years that it is. Certainly for me to start over now would be very difficult. I commend all the young people that are in the right mindset to be able to start off in a very complex career now.
Now, when you started this, how many years ago as a police officer?
36 years.
Did you know you wanted to be the chief?
You know, I don't think that was ever on my mind at the time. You know, I think I always my father was he worked as a patrol officer most of his career. He did a couple of different duties, but I think just watching him work in the community that we lived in, it just inspired me to want to be a police officer, and I didn't really give a lot of thought to where it would go from there.
Yeah. And then you started, the police station was downtown,
Yeah.
and then we moved over to Hershey Drive. How many years ago was that?
Goes by quick. It's been
Yes.
10 years that we've
Have you?
moved to the new location. Certainly a great it was a big project to get that move
I remember that,
to move
yes.
over. But it's a great facility and certainly has a lot more room and a lot better working environment for our staff. You know, I always say if you've got space to work in, it's just that much more organized
Right.
and we work that much more efficiently. So it's been a good move for sure.
So often you hear people retiring and they wonder when they had time to work, and I envision that for you. You're going to be around a lot. I'm sure we're going to see, especially with our Special Olympics. The Smith Falls Police Service has been wonderful for our athletes and mentoring them and just being around to support them. So I know we'll continue to see you around.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for your many years of service here in Smith Falls. I'm so glad you chose Smith Falls too, to call your home and to do your police service here as well too. We've been very blessed and very lucky.
Oh, thank you very much, Kathy. Appreciate it.
Enjoy your retirement.
Thank you. I will.